Hello and welcome to IT Security Labs. Today we're going to complete a machine called Archangel by the creator called Archangel. This is a wonderful machine and I've already done it. As you can see, I completed it, but I'll show you how much fun you can have completing this machine. You're going to learn about local file inclusion. We're going to talk about lateral movement once you get a user, and also how to get root. So this should be a really fun machine to learn ethical hacking. So let's go to our Kali Linux. First thing is we need to be able to ping that IP address. Make sure you're already connected to the Tryhackme network. In this case, I am connected via VPN. Now that we can get there, let's run our nmap as sv -sc, and I'm going to run against our IP address. This is going to run nmap using default scripts on top 1000 ports. And that's what we're doing here. After a little bit, our nmap is complete. So we will see that we have port 22, which is okay, and port 80. And port 80, right away, we see it's running Apache 2.4 something. We will check to see if that's vulnerable. But we also have robots.txt. So that's interesting. Right away, let's go and check out port 80. But before we do that, let's run dirbuster here. Make sure that we can see if there are any directories. We're just fuzzing the side. All right, so while it's running, let's go and check out the site. I'll use Google Chrome. Right away, we see that we have a site that is in Latin. Let's change it to English. And right away, you see that it says support@mafialives.htm. So right away we know that we have a domain name from this right here on the email, so we can put that as our machine fully qualified domain name, because we do have a domain name. I don't see a login page yet. Let's view the page source. Here we're looking for any code that may be running, any comments that may be left. And in this case, we don't see anything. So if you check here, you only see this again, showing us that we do have support at mafialive@tryhackme.com. So one of the first things that you need to do is find out what the name of the machine is. And once you do, let's go here, go to Etsy and make the entry. Put the IP address of the machine and the fully qualified domain name, mafialive.thm. So once we have that, let's try to access this site instead using the fully qualified domain name. Not fully qualified domain name, but using the host name. All right, so if we go to that, right away we get the first flag. So this is the very first flag here that we got, and it says under development. Interesting. So since we got the first flag, we can run dirbuster against this, or we can check the results here that we already had. See if it found anything. It's still running. All right, while dirbuster is running, let's check something. We saw that we had robots.txt on both. Let's do it here. All right, so robots.txt here doesn't work. Let's try here. All right, so this one here, it says disallow test.php. This one here is what happens when we don't want robots to go to this site. I did this in our last live stream or a couple weeks ago. So they don't want us to see test.php. Let's check it out. If you're going to do this manually, you don't need to switch to be a bot. So it says here is a button, That's our test.php. So it says test page not to be deployed. Okay, let's click the button. Control is an illusion. All right, but right up here the name changed to include. If we view the page source, we'll be able to see the same. The header is include, the local file inclusion that we were talking about. So let's change that. And also look at this, test.php. So this is indicative of local file inclusion, and in this case we are reading MrRobot.php. Let's view the page source. In this case we are calling for it like that. Okay, so I did spend some time here. I tried a few things, like I thought I can just come in here and do /etc/passwd. It doesn't work. It says sorry, not allowed. Why? Because this is protected. So there's protection on this site. So let me share with you a guide that I used. So I used this guide here, file inclusion by Hectrix, and I tried some blind inclusions. That didn't work. I tried all these, and the way to try that, I was just copying this, making sure that I test to make sure that this is actually not vulnerable or not. And everything said sorry, not allowed. So we need to figure out how to bypass this and still be able to use the inclusion. So one of the ways that works in this case is this one, the base64, in particular the second one. So if we use this one, we can actually see that we can bypass the encryption that is there and be able to read the code, the source code of what is being displayed on our site. So if you're getting errors with local file inclusion or remote file inclusion, try base64. So here's our basic syntax. You're saying example.com PHP. All we need to do is make sure that we take the PHP filter convert base64 resource is equals to right here. So let's copy that, and what we need to do is put that right here within our URL. So we can paste right here, but instead of index.php, let's remove index.php here. Our resource is going to be equals to what we already had. So what we just injected here is the base64 part right here. We're converting it to base64, then we should be able to read it by injecting that part in there. So let's see. All right, so now we're able to read the source code. Well, we need to decode this, but at least we can see it. So the trick here is to make sure that you convert everything into base64, then take the base64 code here. If we come back to our Kali Linux, we should be able to quickly decode this by using echo. That, then let's pipe it to base64. Base64 minus D. This will decode our code here. Let's see. All right, so the source code is just going to echo control is an illusion, which is a saying from the Mr. Robot TV show. So we were able to echo that. Let's go back to our site and see if we can see more code there. What if we wanted to see this test.php as well? Because remember, now we're able to see that we can read MrRobot.php because it's decoded. I bet you test.php is also there. I was able to prove that test.php is there by just coming here, removing that, and say test.php. What is in the contents of test.php? Then we should be able to read it, and it will tell us what is controlling this whole site here. So if we do that, we get the new test.php base64. So let's copy that as well and decode it. Let's go to our terminal and do the same echo. It's longer, but that's okay. Then we can pipe it to base64 minus D to decode it. We should be able to see the source code for the test.php by doing this. Okay, base64 invalid input. All right, so let's try that again. We're trying this echo command. We had a space here, so let's try it this time without that space fixed here. And if we do that, now we are able to see that here's the source code. And here's what's happening here. First, it gives us the flag. Then they have a couple functions here, and they're saying exclude -- star. So this is how they're trying to protect against local for inclusion, because we were testing them using single forward slashes like this. So that's why it wasn't working, if you're curious why it wasn't working. And also they are making sure that you do not leave this location here. In this case, we are always going to start working in this directory. Anything outside of this directory is not going to work. So that was my problem, my second problem, number 2. So now that we know this, let's go and check it out and make sure that we meet these requirements. First, we don't use this. Second, we don't leave this directory. And I'll show you what that looks like. All right, first business is we always have to include this directory because that's what the code is saying. Second, our local file inclusion should always have 2 backslashes. So using our code here, let's try to go to /etc password, but fixing what we had there. So first we have to include this directory. All right, and second, let's use 2 instead of 1. This is a method you can use to practice. If they're blocking a single /, try with 2. So our /etc password works as well. So this is the one that worked, and I encourage you to just maybe keep building on these until you get to one that works. But we are interested in the Apache logs because that's also one that exists. So this using double slashes works, mostly because according to our source code, we can only use single /. So now that we did this, we can see that we have local file inclusion. Let's use burp to capture this request and see what it looks like. So I'm enabling Foxy proxy, and then let's fire up burp suite, interception on. I'm going to just refresh that page and see. Let's take a look at the request. All right, so right now, as you can see, this is our request. It's also setting up the user agent. In this case, it's seeing my Mozilla user agent that I set up here. So what we can do, let's make sure that it's actually, yeah, it's seeing the bot here that I set up using Mozilla. If I moved it to Android, it will see the Android bot. So let's forward this and let's do it again. I want to make sure that the user agent is changing. Yes, it changed to Android again. So what we can do is, since this is taking input from my browser, when the user agent changes here, I can also change this user agent to be whatever I want. So let me remove that, and I'll just put a simple user agent. We're saying we want to be able to get the command, the ability to execute commands in the browser. So let's we injected this one here. Let's forward that and forward it again, and let's turn interception off. Next, let's send our PHP reverse shell. I'm going to use Pentest Monkey, and I can show you what it looks like. sh.php. This is a PHP reverse shell from Pentest Monkey, and I'm just going to send this one, and it's going to be calling back home to my IP address here on port 5353. And to be able to send this one, I'm going to set up a Python simple HTTP server here so I can upload it. And I'll show you what it looks like. I'm just going to run this one on port 80. But before I do that, I'll show you my IP address. This is 10.2.58.87. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the wget command to be able to download my sh.php, and I'll show you what that looks like here. So since I have command injection, let me say and I'm saying and command equals to wget my IP address in sh.php. If it worked, I should see that it downloaded my sh.php. So I just uploaded a PHP reverse shell to this machine. Now that we have a PHP reverse shell there, I can listen now. New tab on netcat -lv and p on 5353. Okay. Now that we uploaded that PHP reverse shell that I showed you from Pentest Monkey by using the command injection here, we can now say, okay, let's execute this. And to do that, we can just remove all this, and our command is PHP. I think we can say percent. Let's try it. There we go. So next, let me fix this shell and the fun begins. We can just start by using our Python here. No, it's Python 3. This is how you escape these limited shells. And let's paste. Right, let's export the terminal so that at least we can clear our screen and it's more stable. Clear. All right, ls -la. Let's make sure we have enough here. Sudo -l. Now we are in the privilege escalation mode. As you can see, we don't have any sudo privileges. So let's make this fail. And that's the first thing that I do. Second, let's check for SUIDs. Go to my privilege escalation tab. Let's see if we have any SUIDs. In this case, it doesn't look like we do. If you look at all these ones are the normal Linux material that we have. So let's do some manual enumeration here before we run any scripts. So let's go to home. We have Archangel. All right. Can I see ls -la? Can I see a bunch of things? Okay, I see user.txt. So we can read that user.txt. Okay, we can read user.txt. Now let's go to this secret. We won't be, this is a directory. We won't be able to get in here. As you can see, permission denied because of these permissions here. Do we have any bash history that may be interesting? You can read the bash history if there was any, but in this case, oh no. Okay, in my files there's password backup. Okay, this looks like a YouTube link. Let's check it out. I'll save us the grief. No, you just got trolled. All right, so there isn't much going on there. Let's check the cron tab. Cron tab -l. If www data is running any, no. Okay. Let's see if we can see other people's cron tabs, because this is a logical place to be. All right, so we see that we do have one that is running every minute. That is always interesting. It's Archangel, or and it's right in here. So let's go and see if we can read that. See if we have access to it. All right, look at that. We can write and execute this thing. This is an easy one. Since this is running as this user, all we need to do is echo some stuff in it and become them. So this is lateral movement. We can just echo this code in here. This is so that we can get a reverse shell. So we're replacing everything that is in it with this line, and this is my IP address, and on port 444 I'm just going to replace everything that is in there. You see that we replaced everything that was in there. We don't even care what was in there. We replaced it with our code. Now we just need to go and listen on port 4444 in our Kali Linux and get a shell. So let's open a new tab and port 4444. And we wait. We just wait a minute, and this should pop up in a new shell right away. That will be called lateral movement. So we'd have moved from one user to another. Let's give it a minute here. We should see it pop up right away. If everything is there, right there, as you can see. So now let's fix that shell again so that it's actually usable. We know that we are working with Python 3. So let's copy these two. All right. Now, all right. Now we're in as Archangel. So here's our secret. You can say ls. Here's our user flag. You can cat that and give it to them. Then we also have our backup. Is it a directory or file? Backup is a file we can execute. That's good. Let's try to see if we can execute it. Oh, this is game over. Last time in my last live stream, like literally last week, we had something similar to this where we are executing something. In this case, this is owned by root. They're running the copy command, and the command is not available, or it's not finding, in this case, it's not finding the directory. All we need to do is let's hijack this copy command, and then it will run this backup as root. And what I'm talking about is let's echo the full path. The full path is this. The copy command is probably somewhere in the S bin or bin somewhere here, but we can take the path and just put it somewhere like where we are right here. So in this case, let's just make a copy command. Let's by starting with echo /bin bash, and what they're saying here is this is our new copy command right here in this location. There is our copy command. Let's make it executable. All right. Now that our copy command is executable, let's export the path. But our path, which is going to be equals to, in this case, let's use the current directory because that's where we are. Then we would tag the new path, the full path in this case. So what we're saying here is now instead of the path being this, it's going to start from where we are going all the way here. And then when we're looking for the copy command, it will run the copy command that we just created. So if we do that, and we echoed in our copy command for it to spin a shell, and if it spins a shell, it will spin it back as root because it's going to run this backup as root. So let's do that. run that. As you can see, this is one of the easier privilege escalation that I've done so many times here. And now you can say ls. See this as root ls, and here is our root.text. So we have successfully owned the machine. I hope you learned a thing or two. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. I live stream every Sunday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, so you can always join me. But thank you for joining, and this was a fun machine. I'll see you on Sunday.